Hello there, Alaskans, wherever you are. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show. Coming to you from somewhere in Alaska. This is the place where we talk about, you guessed it, Alaska. Where we keep the mainstream media on their toes and where we are standing up for what's right in a world run by leftists. You can find out more by heading over to mustreadalaska.com and also checking out the Must Read Alaska YouTube channel for some really great content. But first, let's get this party started.
Welcome, everybody, to the Must Read Alaska Show. I'm your host, John Quick, coming to you live from somewhere in Alaska. And I hope that everybody's having a fabulous springtime. I know for folks all around Alaska, school is coming to an end soon. I know here on the Kenai Peninsula, there's only one. This is the last day. Friday, May 19th is the last day of school, which is very exciting. And I hope that we will have a amazing, warm, sunny summer. That's my hope, because I still have snow at my house, which is just crazy. Well, if you tuned in last night to just what was going on in Alaska, you saw that the special session lasted a whole one day. As it is finished as of tomorrow. The House concurred with the Senate budget, and we're going to get a $1,300 dividend, I believe. So they are all headed home and ready to take on the world in their summers in their respective places they live in. So, but without further ado, we have a very special guest. Mayor Dave Bronson is with us. He's going to be giving us some updates on as it relates to the city of Anchorage, and it's going to be very exciting to hear. Welcome to the Must Read Alaska Show, Mayor Bronson.
John, thank you very much, and my thanks to Suzanne for all that she does for our state and certainly our city.
Well, I'm a big fan of you, Mayor Bronson, as you know, and it's always fun to hear your updates. I think that you've done something that I think other folks have found really hard to do, which is being a conservative and getting elected in a kind of purple city. So, and then figuring out how to accomplish things in that city. And I think that the folks that supported you and still support you are very encouraged by what you're doing. And so let's talk about some of those fun things. One of the bare bone things that I think mayors of any city talk about is potholes, right? How are you going to solve big problems if you can't even keep our roads potholeless? So talk to us about this kind of new pothole initiative. Give us the 411 on it.
Yeah, it's just as you said, it's essential for city governance. We can play politics all day long, but if we can't govern, if we can't get the work of the people done, it's a problem. And we have challenges facing our city, and the challenges aren't necessarily right or left or liberal versus conservative. They're just challenges that go with a modern city. So, we had a difficult time in December with snow removal. We just had quite frankly, a once in 50-year series of storms actually, and we got especially on the east side, we got 6 feet of snow in about 8 days. So that was a real challenge for us. And from the snow plowing and clearing to the snow removal, and those are two completely different functions. But as with all that snow, as we move into the springtime here, we were really worried about potholes, because the more water you have flowing over the roads during breakup, the worse the potholes get. So we started last winter with an initiative to get our planning up and going, and our activation of the asphalt crews to get out and do some patching. And I was out with them patching some holes yesterday just to learn what they do. We were over just off Fireweed and Eagle doing that. It was great to work with the guys. We're going to put out a post here, I believe today, on that with that good team of 4 folks. And we need to have the roads patched, because if you don't, they start coming apart. I mean, it's continuous maintenance, certainly in asphalt roads, which is the vast majority. So we're patching right now. Over the last 3 weeks, we're averaging just under 1,000 potholes a week.
Wow.
And the team just keeps going. The asphalt plant's up and running, and the teams are out patching. And we do have a number, by the way. It's 907-343-MEND, MEND. or if you want to just remember the number, it's 343-6363. That's our pothole hotline. And so if you see a pothole that's very problematic, in fact, when I was out with the crews, I use 76th, I use Lure quite a bit. And so I just said, hey guys, are you going to get over to Lure and get that fixed? And they said, yes, sir. And I didn't mean it that way. I was just kind of hoping they would get that kind of fixed. And so they're going to head over there and do that. But they're all over the city, and I'm seeing the great results of that team's efforts, and we're quite frankly, we're proud of them. And in general, I would like to convince the people of our great city is that I came into office, I like some people, a little suspicious of of government but I've kind of done a complete change. I can't tell you how proud I am of the employees of this city and how good a job they do. Maybe in other cities, there's problems with municipal employees. We don't have that here. We've got great workers, from asphalt crews to secretaries to lawyers to directors, hardcore, dedicated municipal employees that I couldn't be more proud of. I just couldn't be. And I just want the folks to know that you're getting a lot of bang for your taxpayers' buck in this city. So I do want to pass that along.
That's awesome. So 1,000 potholes a week. That is pretty impressive. So kudos to your crew for doing that. That is they're putting a whole new name to being productive, because that is a lot of potholes to fix. And my guess is you won't stop until probably either all the potholes are fixed or it's into summer kind of thing. Are you going to just keep going all summer?
Well, it does. It keeps going. We do have some roads that we bonded for that are going to actually be repaved. So the routine. Oh, yeah. They come in, they scrape it down, and then they repave. And there's a series of roads, and that's ongoing every year. Excuse me, every year, all summer. We have two seasons. We have road maintenance season, and then we have winter. And we're in road maintenance season right now. And so, yeah, it's going to keep going all summer.
And there are, to remind folks, because I think a lot of people forget, including myself, downtown Anchorage has lots of roads that the municipality doesn't own, right? Owned by the state.
Yeah, that's boy, pardon the cough. That was kind of the thing. We put up a map on the website here where you can. It's an interactive map. During the big snowfall we had in mid-December, people are saying, that mayor can't clear this road, and this intersection's bad, and so is what we did to kind of clarify that was made that map available. You could click on any road and it will tell you, based on the color of the line of the road, if it's a state maintained road or if it's a municipal road. And a general kind of rule is, if it's a big thoroughfare, it's usually state maintained, and if it's smaller, a connector or certainly residential, then it's almost always municipality maintained road, and that comes down to asphalt or snow removal. So, but we did get, the snow removal was a problem this year. We hadn't budgeted enough for it. We've had a lot of really lean winters. I remember, I believe it was Mayor Sullivan got into this once. He had a big snowstorm. I don't remember the year, 12 or 14 years ago. I can't remember, but he had a big snowfall. He budgeted more the next few years. There was low snowfall, so he got in trouble with the public because he had budgeted so much for snow removal the next year, and the snow never showed up. So that's the catch-22 of government. I have to keep about 293,000 people happy, and sometimes I don't do that. Could we have done better during that snow removal and snow haul out? Well, certainly we could have. it was tough. And then we are at a point, we're now having meetings, roundtable meetings, on what we did not so well and what we could do better. I directed that in January, and then we're going to come up with a new plan of snow removal. It's kind of going back to the future. We had this, I learned something. The mayor needs flexibility. And so when we get a big snowfall, what do we do with municipal employees if the buses get shut down and we've got municipal employees that can't get to work? And we had a couple of employees that literally snowshoed to work, and we recognized them during the storm. But at the end of the day, do we want people coming into work when we want fewer people on the road so we can plow snow and not more?
Yeah.
So, but then it comes into this issue of labor contracts. And we have found with the contracts, you just can't say, people, you get to stay home today.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't, because it's a negotiated thing through union contracts with the 9 unions. So that's complicated, but we're looking, this snow policy that we're going to come out is going to address all of those. So HR and contracting, everyone's involved in this negotiation, because we have to be more flexible in how we deal with these large snowfalls. And so could we have done better? Most certainly I could have. Are we going to do better in the future? Yes, we are. And that's what happens in an Arctic climate. Sometimes you get that once in a 50-year snowfall and you got to deal with it.
Yeah, I remember when I was chief of staff for the Kenai Peninsula Borough, Charlie and I, Mayor Pierce and I, had said that folks could go home like 2 hours early. It was like the day before Christmas break started. And, I might as well have triggered a union crisis. And it's not because they weren't grateful. It's because they're bound by their union contract, and they didn't want to screw up anything that they had already pre-negotiated. And so people don't usually think something as simple as, take 2 hours off early the day before Christmas Eve. There has to be some kind of thoughtful strategy behind that even. So I appreciate you thinking ahead of that, because you never know, we might have a crazy snow year next year again. And, working some of that stuff out with the union and maybe the state as well, it's going to pay out in dividends.
Right. And just the complexity of it goes down to this: people clock in or clock out. So I can say you can go home 2 hours early or 4 hours early. Well, if you clock out, the computer that does the payroll is based on when you walk out the hall, or, when you walk out and you clock out. Well, how then do you go back and pay them because they clocked out 2 hours or 4 hours early? The computer doesn't even allow for that.
Yeah.
And, and quite frankly, our computer runs the whole city. So now it's a programming issue at the IT level. How do you make that happen when you because they can't come back in and check. You don't want that. You drive back to the office just to clock out at your normal time. So it got real complex, but we're working through those things, and maybe we can get the computer system to work for us instead of us to work for it.
So recently I saw a video that you had out. So just for folks, potholes, go to 907-343-MEND, and you'll get on the list. But let's talk briefly about, you recently released a video, I think it was maybe a couple weeks ago, about your North Extension stabilization project that you broke ground. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, real short history. We had some problems down at the port quite a few years ago now, where we drove in pilings to hold back to retain earthworks or a bunch of dirt, and these big sheet pile things. And there was problems with the installation. Some of them buckled, and then we piled up a bunch of dirt behind it. Well, now that needs to be undone and redone. So we're removing, we call it NES1, North End Stabilization Phase 1, where we come in and it's about 100,000 cubic yards of gravel that we need to pull out, salvage, and store it. And then we got to pull out the sheet piles, and then we make a sloped gradient, not a vertical one, a sloped gradient down into the inlet. And we use these interlocking man-made stones to create that slope. And we also need to remove. We created a bit of a peninsula there with this north end state, or with this retaining wall. And now with the larger ships coming in, we need more space. So we've got to get that little peninsula out of the way. So that began, and that's all part of the port modernization plan, where we get to, and you've heard me talk about it many times, I think I've mentioned it on your show here, is we've got to get to what we call food security. Our port is in absolute desperate shape. The earthquake of a few years ago, had it gone, we believe, 7 or 8 more seconds, the engineers are telling you it would have collapsed. The importance of that is that 90% of the people of the state of Alaska are fed over those docks, the Port of Alaska. They're fed from that. So if that thing were to collapse in an earthquake, or for any other reason, a ship hitting it too hard, it would collapse. When it collapses, it takes itself all the way down and falls into the inlet. There's no food. And I just want to repeat that. There's no food. You can't replace it. We would over time get back to where we're barging, and experts like Jim Jensen at Linden would have to figure these things out. We would be barging food onto a beach and trying to get food off barges. We would be trying to get food through Whittier Port, through Seward Port, through Valdez, and through Homer. But the volume just isn't there. So what comes in on those 4 ships every week, 2 on Sunday, and 2 on Tuesday with our great partners Matson and Tote, it would take over 700 cargo aircraft, wide-body cargo aircraft equivalent, to fly in that amount of food, supplies, building materials, everything we get on and that capacity isn't there.
Yeah.
I spent 30 years, actually 18 years, flying 747 cargo aircraft. That amount of cargo capacity, air cargo capacity, doesn't exist. It's all being used, and it won't be diverted to help us. So we've got to fix the port. The north end stabilization is one of the early phases of getting our port back up and seismically secure. It's 2 docks. The good news is the petroleum cement terminal is done. It's up. It's running. There's some more testing that's got to be done of the plumbing with the fuel. We've got a concrete cement ship there. I believe it's still there, offloading, and it offloads the cement, the powder, through a pipeline mechanism. It dumps into that big white dome that we see out there, and that's our cement. So really good. We're just tickled with that. It's seismically secure. But now we've got to get the docks, the loading docks for Tote and Matson, up and going so that we have food security going forward. And right now, we don't have that, to be honest with you. We just don't have that. And we've got to get to that. And that's what the port modernization plan is all about. And you're going to hear lots about that. If you haven't already, and we're going as fast as we can. Everyone is on board, from the delegation, certainly Senators Murkowski, Sullivan, Representative Peltola, they're all over this. The Department of Defense is all over this. The Department of Transportation. We work this thing 24/7. And we went in and secured last year from the legislature the largest appropriation in the history of the state, $200 million for the port. And even as the engineering and the planning is carrying forward, we sped up the schedule. We shortened the construction window, and we are on track for success. We think the first dock will be up in 2028. If I can get us to that, if my team can get us to that, we're successful. Nothing else really matters. And I want to backtrack a bit. If that port falls over and we don't have food coming in, no less than half the population of the state would have to leave the state because, again, there's no food. And this is not hyperbole. This is not some politician running his mouth and trying to scare people. This is just cold, hard data. It's reality. And so we've got to get this thing up and going, and we're on track. I'm real happy. Just pray that there's no earthquake.
Well, it sounds
You
like
know,
you
no,
and your team are hard at work.
we are.
So I'm sure that the city of Anchorage, my guess is, has hundreds and hundreds of employees, maybe close to 1,000 even. And you probably have a handful of vacancies at any given time. Where could somebody go? There's great people in the city that are looking for jobs. You've done these job fairs all around the city, and you've had some pretty phenomenal success, even hiring folks that used to be homeless and kind of went through this different homeless shelters in Anchorage and went to your job fair and found successful employment. But there's other folks out there that maybe they just graduated college, or maybe they've just finished a trade school, or they're 10 years into a career that they have and they don't like their job and they want to work somewhere else that's going to be fulfilling. Where could somebody go to look at the jobs that are available with the city of Anchorage or the municipality of Anchorage?
Yeah, real simple. You go to the front page of muni.org. That's muni.org. And so this is the order, right top of the page. We have a warning: high winds, fire danger is currently open fires are currently prohibited. Next step down. Next great big button is potholes hotline, and then under that is job opportunities. You click on that, and it'll go through and show what we have. We are competing, and this is one of the biggest challenges we face is recruiting and retaining people. I'm kind of getting hammered here because we've got a shortage of people. Well, guess what? I'm competing against ConocoPhillips. I just had a super talented director that just announced he's leaving. Real good guy, actual personal friend of mine. And he's leaving because he just got an offer he couldn't refuse. And I joke with him. Had he not taken that job offer with what they were offering him, I would have had to fire him because he was stupid. I'm joking. I hope everyone understands that. But I've got to compete with ConocoPhillips. I've got to compete with the state. And it's tough. But we do. I'm just telling you, and I'm going to brag on the city a little bit. I've been working for the military and the commercial airline world since I was very young, and I'm just telling you, I'll call it what it is. The healthcare package that I've gotten with Muni is better than any healthcare package I've ever had. My wife and I are kind of amazed, and so we can't always offer in pay what Conoco, the state, or whatever, but we can make up a lot of that on. We've got, I think, 13 holidays now. We've got and we're working to execute the last couple of them because it was just approved by the assembly here 2 months ago. So that's got to work through the contracts, but we've got good health care, we've got good equipment, we've got good facilities. So we've got other things to offer. And again, you got
a wide variety of departments as well, right? You got everything from Parks and Rec to police department.
Right. Police, fire. If you go to the website, it's pretty involved.
Yeah.
And we're kind of short. If you're a high school senior and you need a job for the summer and you want to work outdoors and work with good equipment and good people, our parks and recs we're still undermanned. And we need that. And boy, you get to work on the trails, you get to work outside, mow lawns, clean up. It's good work. And, I was that way when I was young. I just wanted to be outside all the time. And so an outside job was always my preference. It actually still is. So I would just say, go to job opportunities button on the website at muni.org and see if you can find something that works for you.
Nice. Well, 30 minutes have flown by very quickly, Mayor. Any last words here before we head off?
No, just a warning. It is dry out. Watch your fires. The snow is just about done in the woods, which we immediately go from wet, soggy woods, and in even open areas to all of a sudden super dry until the rains come. We had this last year. We had some real scares this time last year, and just open fires. They're prohibited, and certainly we've got a homeless challenge where they're cooking fires in the woods, and we're monitoring that, and we're on high alert. So we just ask that everyone else do their part.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, Mayor Bronson. You're welcome back anytime, and we wish you nothing but success here at Must Read Alaska. If you're listening, watching, or reading Must Read Alaska, and you like what you hear, and you want to help keep the lights on, go to mustreadalaska.com. On the right-hand side there's a little donate button. Click that. Every $5, $10, $100 helps us keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. We're not funded by some nonprofit dark web money conglomerate. We're just funded by everyday folks who care about conservative news and want to help it spread through all the nooks and crannies of Alaska. So if that is you that is donating, we want to thank you for doing that. We really appreciate you helping keep the lights on here at Must Read Alaska. And until next time, I'm John Quick from somewhere in Alaska. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, John. Yep.